ABC. It's Dave here, and I thought I'd come on and enter Mazzy's 500 sub contest. Now, I wasn't really familiar with Mazzy. Just found out about his channel here. Actually, the other day, Odd Box Topper posted a entry into his contest, and then I saw that Rob from Sounds Strange posted a contest entry, and so I thought I'd come on and do one too. I've already seen several of the entries that have been made, and I like the questions. The questions sound pretty fun, so I thought I'd give it a go. I've already watched a few of his videos. He was on there talking about jazz with a friend of his, and he did one here recently on the year 1969. So anyway, let's get started. He has the first question is, name one album that you think everybody should own. And I picked this one by Bob Marley and the Wailers, Uprising. This is one of his later albums, but it's a really good album. It's got a lot of my favorite songs on it, like Redemption Song and Pimper's Paradise, Coming In From the Cold. I think the first Bob Marley album I bought was Kaya, which was back in the 80s sometime, and me and my brother really got on a Bob Marley trip, I guess you could say, and eventually went down to Jamaica just to see what that item was like. But and here's another one by him. This is his Exodus album. Now I've got Marley stuff on CD and album, and he's one of those guys that Mazzy also had a question saying, which albums do you collect or try to collect from every album by the artist? And this would be actually one of them. And I think I have most of Bob Marley and the Wailers output. Probably missing one or two. It's just hard to say. I haven't looked in a while to see what I have and what I don't have. But let's see. The second question is, name an album that puts you in the mood. And I kind of thought of these albums. This is Charlie Hayden's Quartet West, and as you can see from the album art, it's sort of a throwback to early Hollywood, and I'd say, you know, the 40s or the 30s, something like that. Always Say Goodbye. And he made several of these albums. I have 3 of them here, but and they're all really good. There's, they hold that era of early Hollywood and noir movies. They're real reminiscent of movies like L.A. Confidential, Chinatown with Jack Nicholson, stuff like The Big Sleep with Bogart and Bacall. I'm sort of a Bogart fan. Here's his Maltese Falcon, and Dark Passage, which is another good Bogart film. But these album here, they have some of them have orchestration on them, and he also would do include passages from, say, Django Reinhardt, or I think Chet Baker's on some of these singing. There's also Joe Stafford, who is I believe she's an early singer, that sings a couple of vocals on some of these. Like I said, there's orchestration on some of them, on some of the passages. But yeah, they're all really good albums. This is the one I kind of favor, but they're all really good. What do you have for beautiful cover art or packaging? This is one I thought of. Now I know the album in here is loose, so I'm going to take it out, but that's what the label looks like. It's a WOMAD, one of those WOMAD compilation albums, and this is what the album art looks like. This is the compilation of European groups and their influences, and I had 3 of these WOMAD albums, and they're all really good. It comes with all kind of stuff. Like this here is a Flamingo Basics with Paco Pena, and then there's also, like, you know, these maps in here with where some of the musicians are, you know, where they're located at. There's France, Portugal. The Pogues are on here. They're from Ireland. Dick Gohan, I think it is from Scotland, and then there's from a jazz cut from Germany, Hungary, Bulgaria, and then there's also some, you know, a lot of pictures and a lot of write-ups about some of the artists. And overall, I've enjoyed all these WOMAD things. They are educational. Here's the picture of the Pogues. And you know, you hear cuts from different artists. And here's a lady that is from Anatolian folk music. So I mean, the musicians are broad, and yeah, it's a good way to discover music. And it's too bad that these WOMAD albums like this didn't catch on, because they're a lot of fun. This is another one that I thought of, and I wouldn't necessarily say the album art is beautiful, but it's kind of like the other one, and it came in a plastic bag, sort of like that, and I rebagged it, or put in a sort of a Blake sleeve. This is another compilation. It's Recommended Records, and it's a 2-record set. It has various artists on it, and I took it out of this sleeve because it kind of sweats or something and makes it real hard to get the album out of. But again, it's kind of like that WOMAD thing in that it's not quite as thorough with the booklet or anything, but it does have like a little inner sleeve like this. It talks a little bit about the bands that are on here. And there's bands on here like Henry Cow, The Work, the Canterbury Band, the Muffins, and the Italian band Picchio del Pozzo, the Art Bears, and the Faust, the Krautrock Band. And like I said, there's all kind of information about all the bands and everything in here as well. This is what the full cover looks like. And you know, interesting packaging anyway. So okay, artists whose entire catalog you own or are working to own. Well, I have, you know, I've always collected, you know, stuff like a lot of music lovers like, you know. One of the artists that I've collected just about all of her stuff is Joni Mitchell here. This is a really good album by her. It's her second album, I think. Very folky music, but very well done as well. I think she also painted the cover on here. But another artist, musician that I've been listening to for many years is John Abercrombie. He's a guitarist and started out on this ECM label here. And I would say he's sort of in a lot of ways like maybe Joe Pass or something like that. That type of guitarist. Although his music is, his guitar playing is really subtle. This is a Gateway 2. There's a Gateway 1 and a Gateway 2. And they're all really beautifully done. And of course he has good session men on it as well. A lot of these ECM, the music on ECM is sort of, you know, it's not bebop, it's more contemporary, modern is what I would call it. And it has a lot of mood to it, and I really love all these ECM albums, of the ones that I have. This is a solo album by John Abercrombie. Really well done. This would be another one I would recommend that should be in everybody's collection if you like guitar playing. This is some duets that he did with Ralph Towner, Sargasso Sea. This is the John Abercrombie Quartet. This is Arcade. And all of these are good. This is another quartet album by him. This has him, Richard Bierak, I believe is how you say it. He's pianist. Guitar, piano, bass, and drums. George Moratz and Peter Donald are the musicians on here. This is John Abercrombie's Night album. This has Jan Hammer on keyboards. Jack DeJohnette, who plays with him on a lot of his albums, plays the drums. And Mike Brecker plays the tenor saxophone on here. But yeah, really good artist. I like nearly everything he's done. This is another one that he did with Ralph Towner, who's another guitarist on the ECM label, who plays more of a classical nylon string guitar, but also plays 12-string. John Abercrombie plays electric, and I think maybe acoustic guitar too, but also an electric mandolin. Yeah. So anyway, if you've never heard him, go online and listen, but I highly recommend him. And let's see here. Artist who released first album in 1969. Well, I'm going to have to go back with Joni Mitchell here. This one here. Although I don't think this may not be her first album. I may have messed up. Here's another one that I had pulled. And I guess I was thinking, I know what I can do. I can say maybe this one. This is also one of my favorite albums that was released in '69. Now this is the first album, and I really love King Crimson. I've been following them for years, and I remember when this thing came out. I actually got rid of it when I first bought it. Now this was way back when, but I rebought it on album. And then I rebought it on CD, which is, this is the 10th anniversary edition, I believe, of the album. But what I really like on here is on the second side where they go into the Moonchild song, and it's that real freeform, floating, sort of nebulous song that eventually leads into the Court of the Crimson King. I believe that song there kind of got me. That, along with Frank Zappa and a lot of progressive rock back then, Soft Machine, kind of got me into avant-garde jazz, or opening up my head a little bit to where I would like listening to jazz and some of your more classical music too, which is a little bit more nebulous or more complex, I guess you could say, put together. But yeah, love this album. And then what is your favorite album from 1969? Well, that would be one of them. I also pulled the Joni Mitchell, which I've already shown, but I also pulled this one. I like the first three Blood, Sweat and Tears albums, and yeah, I think this album isn't a stranger to the VC, but all three of the Blood, Sweat and Tears. The first one being a little bit more psychedelic, I'd say. This one is more, I don't know if I'd say it's mainstream, but it's definitely, with all the horns and brass on it, it was a departure from what was going on at the time, back in the late 60s. And always return to this album. It's more of a fall album for me, but it's hard to beat either way. And lastly, he said wear a hat, which I'm wearing a hat. I usually don't wear a hat. He said, what are my three favorite bands? Now, I haven't watched enough of his videos to really know what are his favorite bands. I've already seen a couple of videos talking about what they think are his favorite bands. And from what I have just seen and surmised from what I've seen, one of them evidently has to be the Beatles, because I think anybody that came up from that era, the Beatles played a big influence, and as they did for me. I mean, the Beatles album, the Beatles 65 album, was one of the first albums I ever owned, one of the first long-playing albums. And of course it's still one of my favorite albums. But yeah, the Beatles had a big impact on everybody back then. A lot of people have been showing the Byrds. This is a Sweetheart of the Rodeo. Now I wouldn't know, this is a great album actually too. It's also like a country influence, heavily country influenced album. Great harmonies though, as always. And yeah, it's always been one of my favorite Byrd albums. Of course I like all their earlier folk rock stuff too as well. And then just as a guess, I'm guessing, seeing how Mazzy seems to be a pretty discriminating person, and like I said, I don't know what he has said. I'm going to guess Jimmy Buffett. And the reason I say Jimmy Buffett is because he's got a hat on, so it's got to be Jimmy Buffett. And besides that, he lives off of sponge cake. Now I don't know what that has to do with anything, but yeah, I bet he's a parrot head in disguise, Mazzy. Who knows? So anyway, those are my three guesses for the bonus prize. I'm wearing my hat. This is my Rat Freak hat, which is a Big Daddy Roth creation out of California. Anyway, that's my entry into the contest, Mazzy, and it seemed like you got a lot of videos on there that I can go back and rewatch, which is always cool, so yeah, and I'll be happy to see what others come up with, and I'll leave a link below, to Mazzy's contest in case anybody else might want to enter. So there you go. And good luck with your subscribers and good luck with your contest, and hope everybody's staying cool. It's really hot down here in Texas, down in the southern part, so stay cool and take it easy. Talk to you later.